All right, Zach, the floor is yours. I am directing this segment of sorts, but I'll give you up to 3 minutes to lay out the argument for why Auburn wins this game. I, as neutral arbiter of all things college football, can always be persuaded if a good argument is presented to me. So you give me the case right now why Auburn is ready to go on the road, where they had a good win week 1 against Baylor, admittedly, and I did not make that pick correctly. Why do they go to Oklahoma, to Norman, and win this game?
I think they're going to be able to run the football, whether it's Jackson Arnold or the return of Damari Austin or Jeremiah Cobb, back-to-back 100-yard games. I think they're going to be able to run the football. I think Hugh Freeze had a change of philosophy over the course of the offseason, which was so frustrating a year ago when Auburn fans were begging him to give the football to Jarquez Hunter. If that happened one more time, Auburn beats Oklahoma a year ago, but we all know the Peyton Thorne pick six. What a disaster that was. I also think a major mismatch in favor of Auburn is Auburn's receivers versus Oklahoma's corners specifically. I'm not saying the entire defensive backs, but I will say corners. And a lot of that has to do with them just not being tested so far this year. I think this Auburn offense will be the best offense that Oklahoma has played so far. And I do think some of these incredibly awesome stats that Oklahoma is able to tout has a little bit to do with who they've played. I'm not entirely sold on Michigan at their current situation. I think they'll get better over the course of the year. And then I think Auburn's offensive line will be one of the better offensive lines that Oklahoma's very impressive defensive front will play all season. And then on the other side of it, like I think Auburn has the edge defenders to keep Mateer in the pocket. Keldrick Falk will be a top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft. Kieron Crawford is flying up draft boards. He had an incredible offseason, and it's playing out that way on the field. And then Jared Smith, who is one of the highest rated freshmen in the country. I think he's going to play more because of Amaris Williams' absence. He's questionable going into it, kind of Auburn's backup defensive end there. So I think there's going to be guys that have mismatches in Auburn's favor that's not being discussed because everybody wants to talk about Jackson Arnold and John Mateer.
That was a solid 4 out of 10 argument for me there, Zach. That was good.
No extra credit from you at all.
Yeah, Jay, talk about John Mateer in this game because he's been a fun watch so far. There are actually a lot of similarities between these two guys when I watch them play stylistically. Mateer has also been, and I said this after the Michigan game, which was probably my best prediction early on since I called the score right on the money. So obviously I've just got my pulse on Oklahoma. But anyway,
you pick like 40 games a week. You're gonna get one. Right?
I don't go to 40. I don't go quite that high. But right. I watch both of these guys. They're very mobile.
They've got Iraq before, and they're probably like, "What is going on?"
Do you just not want to hear Jay talk? Is that what's going on here? You just don't want Jay. You just let
Jay talk. You don't need to tee him up. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Jay. Okay. Talk about John Mateer in this game because I said after the Michigan game they've got to run the ball better with somebody that's not named John Mateer. This would be a good game to showcase that.
Yeah, this is the one where we'll probably do that push. Torrey Blaylock finished with 100 yards last week, so he's going to be able to come out. And now we know that he's going to be RB1. We don't care. We're going to go ahead and hand him the ball like crazy. But no, as you talk about John Mateer, like so many people kept telling us, oh, wait until he plays against real defenses or real teams, as if he didn't play against Washington last season. He didn't play against Texas Tech last season, in which, Washington was a, bowl team, won 8 games. The year before, last year, Texas Tech, won 8 games.
They won 6, but yeah.
With 6, yeah, but, my bad. They made a bowl game. That's all that matters, right? But Tech looks really good this year, in which, John Mateer played against them. But I digress. He did that against a Michigan defense who, not as good as it was last year, but will improve as the season progresses. And overall, John Mateer has shown us that his focus is making sure that he gets in sync with his wide receivers. And if he needs to go ahead and put the team on his back, he has the capabilities. He ran 19 times against Michigan. He ran 7 times in the other 2 games, mainly because he didn't want to run. His focus was getting his timing down with his wide receivers. You can tell that pass blocking was elite, and he just sat there and eventually was like, let me go ahead and do it. Plus, the one thing Oklahoma struggled like crazy with last year with our last set of quarterbacks, we could not convert a 3rd down. We're converting them at 19 now. We're converting them at ridiculous rates. You're converting ones that you probably should not convert. We've got weapons that people aren't prepared to really acknowledge truthfully yet. because they just haven't had those massive breakouts because it's been spread around. He spread the wealth. So to me, John Mateer comes in here. He is the better quarterback right now, mainly because he's more seasoned. He's played a lot more football to me in comparison as a starter. And so in that, I think John Mateer is going to be able to go out there and cause a lot of problems for Auburn. If Sawyer Robertson can throw for 400 yards in this game, John Mateer can throw for 300.
Careful pointing those things out to Zach. You might get labeled an Auburn hater. Hey, John, give me an X factor in this game for Oklahoma. Who's the guy you look at and go, boy, if he pops or if this one thing really happens, then I feel even better about Oklahoma's chances.
Yeah, I mean, the X factor, Jaren Kanak, converted linebacker to tight end. He's top 10 in the SEC in receiving yards this season. He's somebody that continues to get overlooked because they've got Deion Burks on the outside. They've had Isaiah Satania that led them in receiving last week. So Jaren Kanak just continues to just kind of do his thing as a secondary receiving option, and he just makes big plays over the middle of the field, in the flat. He's super athletic. He's super fast. He's going to make guys miss in the open field, and he's somebody that Auburn fans will find out about this week because he's just a dynamic playmaker. He was a high school Wildcat quarterback, converted to linebacker at OU, and then converted to tight end this offseason, and the conversion has gone swimmingly. He's a really good player. On defense, I mean, Auburn fans know about Kip Lewis, but I'm going to say it's David Stone. This is a guy that was a 5-star defensive tackle signing in the 2024 recruiting class, had a bit of a developmental year as a true freshman last year, but he's just ascended through 3 games this year. He's just flashing all over the field with his physicality, his athleticism. He's a force in the middle of the defensive line as a part of one of the best interior defensive line rotations in college football.
All right, let's get to everybody's favorite part. Prediction time for Auburn and Oklahoma. I'll start since it's my name over there on this particular podcast. I like Oklahoma to beat Auburn. I know that is I know. Zach is just completely and utterly shocked. But I like the Sooners at home. I like what I've seen from John Mateer. I like their defense to keep Auburn in check enough in this game. Jackson Arnold will have at least 1 turnover in the matchup, probably 2. I like Oklahoma 30-17 over the Auburn Tigers. Zach?
I've been picking Oklahoma all week, but I'm fired up right now, so I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go Auburn 27, Oklahoma 24.
John, you hear that? 27 points on that Sooner defense in Norman by Jackson Arnold of all people? What do you say to that?
I don't see it happening. And again, I am the biggest Jackson Arnold truther that you'll find, Oklahoma or Auburn fans alike. I think he's got the talent and the skills to make some plays. My hesitation with Arnold is, will he throw it? Will he throw it down the field if a guy's covered up? Does he have to have guys running wide open to make a throw down the field to beat Oklahoma's defense? I just don't see it happening this week. I think he's still a developmental player. He's still got some things where he can grow and get better. I just think Brent Venables' defense is going to have him too much thinking too long. And so I'm going Oklahoma 31-17. I just think John Mateer is going to make enough plays in the passing game to get Oklahoma up on the scoreboard. And then once that happens, Brent Venables is going to tee off defensively.
Jay, did you hear John Price's right me right there? Yeah. I say 30-17. He goes 31-17, Bob. 31-17. Jay, your score prediction for the game.
Yeah, earlier in the week, I was in kind of a similar boat as the others. Like, I think it's going to be a close game, numbers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've kind of just switched my mindset. I don't think that it's going to be close. I actually don't even think Auburn scores a touchdown in this game. I think he forced them to actually kick a bunch of field goals. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think it's going to be Oklahoma 25. I'm going to give Auburn 9. I think that they will kick 3 field goals, and that's the most they get out of this game.
Jay, that is the first time 25-9 has ever been predicted on this
I think
program.
It is a scoregami. I think it will be a scoregami for all teams.
You can blame Zach.
That's incredible. 25-9 is actually incredible. Zach's face is turning red like a cherry tomato up there. He is ensconced.
Zach field goal shamed Jay. And so now Jay's
he really did. He field goal shamed me yesterday's episode. So
21, and I'm like, I think the red zone defenses are going to force some field goals in this
Yeah,
one. So
and that's actually why
that's probably true.
That's why I adjusted it. Is specifically because he shamed me yesterday talking about field goals, and I was like, you know what, that's a very fair point. So I think it's going to say Auburn's going to kick all the field goals for the most part.
3 for Oklahoma, and Zach is saving the graphic for Auburn. Zach Blackerby, Locked On Auburn. John Williams and Jay Smith of Locked On Sooners. Gentlemen, that was enjoyable. My best bets for week 4, I am in need of a bounce back. Will I put this game in there? That's coming up next.
Boomer.